What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over my impressions of Gotham Knights so far. I've put in about 15 or so hours, maybe give or take an hour or two, and I want to just talk about what I think of the game right now. I am going to do a review. I do want to rank the Knights, so there's going to be some videos like that, and I also want to talk about some of the spoiler elements of the game. So there's a lot of future Gotham Knights videos as this week goes on, or weekend into next week, that's going to go on. Final, also kind of announcement, if you guys didn't know, I'll be live streaming the game tomorrow, and I'm going to be actually playing it with you guys. So if you have the Series X, friend me on it. Podcast Now is the name, and we will play the game together in a live stream. Of course, you could just watch the live stream as well, but that's tomorrow morning. The live stream's on the channel right now. You can just click it and set a notification. All right, so how do I feel about the game? Honestly, I kind of like it. I'm going to be flat out honest there. It's not an amazing game. I don't even know if I would say it's a great game. Oftentimes, people tend to get confused when I say I like a game. They think that that means that it's my game of the year or it's the greatest game, ever created. That's not what I said when I say that I like the game. The game is solid. I think solid is the best word to describe this game. Overall, I have fun with it, and I think the positives of the game so far, 15 hours in, outweigh the negatives of the game. Now, let's start with the negatives. And this is, again, just me kind of talking about it. And if you find, by the way, things that, you agree with me and you don't like it, I mean, there's your answer to if you should buy it, right? I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people say, should I buy this game? Is the game worth $70? Just let me kind of rant away and you guys make your own mind up, all right? So the negatives, the frame rate is a huge negative. Now, again, I'm playing on Series X. It does seem like that is the worst of the entire group. It does seem like PlayStation can keep level, like 30 frames per second, better than the Xbox Series X. But I mean, and again, I don't know because I haven't played the other versions, but the frame rate can get very bad. It can get annoying, and it's just, is it something that a patch could fix? Absolutely. And God, do I hope a patch can fix these frame rate issues, but that is an issue. Now, is that the main issue with the game? Honestly, I would say no. I think it's something that you could kind of live with. It's an annoyance. I'm not saying, like we should tolerate games coming out in this state and not even being able to hit 30 frames per second. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you do kind of get used to it, and it's not the main weakness with the game. The main weakness of the game, in my opinion, is the RPG elements. Now, I'm going to get maybe some pushback here because I have talked to people online that do like the RPG mechanics, and that's totally cool. What I have found is, well, I've turned off the health bar, that's gone, and the numbers, hitting enemies and the numbers kind of popping off. I don't even want to know what that looks like on my nice TV, so I just turned the whole thing off. So I'm just fighting. It does make grabbing people next to impossible because you don't know how weak they are. You don't know their health bar to grab them, which I think is not a game-breaking thing, but definitely something they didn't think through when they said, well, are people going to like seeing the health bar and the numbers pop up? And they're like, well, probably not, so they're going to turn it off. Well, you need to see the health bar in order to grab people because you can only grab them at certain, intervals, and that's kind of an issue. So it makes that a little bit more challenging, but overall, it is a lot better. I will say it's a lot better to go around, but the RPG elements that I personally don't like, the suits, I love the visual look of the suits. The suits look freaking awesome, but the stats that go along with it, the mods, fusing mods, crafting weapons, all of this stuff, in my opinion, no thank you. No thank you. It reminds me a ton of Avengers, Marvel's Avengers. I'm not saying they're the exact same game. It just reminds me a lot of it. When you open chests and you get resources, and I have no idea what the resources do or what they even... Well, I know what they do. You need them to craft. I don't really know what they are. I don't know what they're called. I don't know which one is more valuable than the other one. Those things, in my opinion, are complete garbage. And if you got rid of them, I think the game would be a whole lot better for it. But you can kind of see that live service element sprinkled in, right? Like when missions are, well, you should be level 4 through 7, or you should be level 10 through 13. Like you just see that come out, and it's like, I don't really want that, in the game, and it is in there. It is in there. But that's, in my opinion, the worst part. The second worst part could be the repetitiveness. Now, I actually am kind of warming up to the combat. I do think the combat gets better and better with the more powerful you become. I actually do agree, if you guys remember the previews that came out, like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago on the game, and one of the criticisms of the fighting was that it could become very repetitive. It becomes repetitive basically in like 3-4 hours. And some things I actually saw in those previews were the people that played the game said that they had to change their fighting style in order to make the game feel fresh again because the enemies don't do it. I actually 100% agree with that. The issue with the combat and the repetitiveness and the fighting is actually the enemies. There's not enough of them, and they're too similar. It's just way too repetitive in fighting the same ones over and over. The thing that's positive is the more powerful you get, the more ways there are of dealing with them. And that is one of the game's biggest strengths. Playing not only as one of the four, and all four of them are very different and very cool in their own right, but then you can play them specifically different ways, right? So like each of them have 3 basic trees, and you can really tell, like you know you have to kind of level up an entire tree, and once you do, you have to kind of play that way with the knight. So if you're going to go, like for me, for Batgirl, I'm going down the Oracle route, which is more like you can walk in front of cameras and they don't see you, even though they would see everybody else, which is pretty awesome. And you know, like, but you have to play like that because I'm not improving her actual fighting. So you have to play, maybe you can play more stealth and you can literally just kind of walk through cameras, but you can do silent takedowns. So how you level up the knights is how you're going to have to play them, whichever tree you kind of go down. But I actually think that's a really cool thing. I actually think that's a strength of this game overall. So yes, and again, 15 hours in, what about when I get to 30 hours? What about when I get to 40 hours? Like, how is that going to affect it? I do think this game is going to get old, the fighting, very quickly. In terms of the crimes are so annoying. Tying the knighthood skill tree to crimes is a joke. Tying fast travel to scanning drones, which is kind of a mini game but not really, is also a joke. Small things like that actually really hurt the game, where it's like you gotta take out random street crimes to investigate people to get you a bigger crime. You do that bigger crime, you got to get 10 of those per each night, so you got to do 40 of them. They're the exact same thing over and over. You got to do 40 to get all 4 of the, 10 each to get the knighthood, so you get their special movement thing, which Batgirl's gliding is actually really fantastic, but it's annoying. And those are, again, the smaller things in this game that are annoying, to me at least. Now, the positives, I touched upon it, one of them is that the knights in their difference of play style, I think is really, really cool. I do overall like the combat of them, like when they're fighting, I like it. I like the finisher moves. I like their momentum abilities are awesome. All of them, really all of them. They each have different strengths to them of what they can do. You have to use them a little bit differently depending on which knight it is or which momentum ability it is. So there is a lot to like in the combat. It's just the repetitiveness of really the enemies and the situations of the crimes and all that stuff. That's the issue to me. The visuals of the city are mind-blowing. Like, they are really, really good. The lighting, the ray tracing, like all that stuff. I mean, it's an incredible looking game when you just pop out, right? You exit the belfry and you're just standing there, and then you take your first steps and you leave. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Again, the frame rate kind of hurts that because it's like, well, I'm trying to, it's so incredible looking, but then it can't really keep up with itself. You know what I mean? So that is definitely an issue, but the visuals are good. The knights themselves, once you get close to them and you look at the cutscenes are pretty, the opening cutscene is insane, but that's more of what happens in the opening rather than the visuals. But I do think the visuals overall, even in the cutscenes when you're a little bit more focused in on things, do look rather good. So I would say this game is definitely an above average looking game. Actually, probably well above average looking game. And then also the story and the characters themselves. So not just how they fight, but how they interact. I know I was actually very critical of the voice acting. The voice acting still is kind of all over the place. I've actually really warmed up to Batgirl. I will be Batgirl to me was someone I was kind of afraid of because of the voice, because I wasn't sure how that was going to play. I actually like her kind of positive mentality. I like her kind of peppiness to her voice. So I think she's honestly really, really good. Part of the reason why she's my favorite, plus other things. But no, the voice acting is, I would say, solid. Again, it's not incredible. This is not going to blow you away with the voice acting, but their story and they're kind of talking with each other. I like the bond, and I like the story that's being told with them and then the city itself. So there are plenty of negatives. I mean, I think listed more negatives than positives. What ends up happening is I just think the story, the characters, general fun, which is kind of like going around the world, free roaming in the world. This is a fun game. In my opinion, this game is just fun. Will that fun run out? I think it's very possible. Will that fun be amplified when I play it online? See, so far, I haven't played the game with anybody. I've just done it by myself. I've heard that it's actually better with another person, which makes a lot of sense, honestly. So maybe that helps it as well. That's why this is just impressions. This isn't like a full review. Full review will get a little bit more into depth, and we'll kind of add some things that I didn't talk about here. But I'm liking it. I'm really liking it. Is it worth $70? That's up to you. What's 70 worth to you? What other games are out right now? You know, there's a lot of different factors of is it worth that money to you. But I'm enjoying it personally. I'm liking it more and more as I play it. And I'm just kind of settling into like, okay, well, these knights are kind of my favorite, or they're better used for this situation, so I'll use them for that situation. That's kind of what's happening with me right now. But it's not a perfect game, but it's not an atrocious game either. I really don't think so. So that's my impressions. You can let me know based off what I said, what you saw. Hopefully you guys can figure out if you like the game or not, or are going to get the game or not. And like I said, once I beat it, I want to beat it first. I'll do a full review. We'll do that hopefully like Tuesday, Wednesday. I'd hope to beat it by. So we'll do a video then. But like I said, got a live stream coming where I'm going to rank the knights. I want to do that video very, very soon. Talk about the ending and spoilers. I want to talk about their second game, what the second game could be. So there's several Gotham Knights videos that'll happen over the next like 7 or so days. And yeah, so keep your eyes open for them. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope to see you all on the next one.